Hello class, welcome back. Thanks for checking in. We're in part 3, week 3 here of our our new normal. Again, I'm hoping that you're well and healthy and your family is safe. Um, I thought I'd change up just kind of the format of how I do the videos here. I wanted it to be a little more personal. It's kind of weird when you just hear my voice and you just see my iPad the whole time. I thought there's really not a lot of interaction there. So you're in my house, as you can tell. You can see my dog here sleeping. Um, but this is kind of the new format I'm going to try. If you don't like it, just let me know and I'll kind of go back to the old one. I just thought it was kind of different. I have different technologies that are available to me that, I'm more tech savvy, so I can kind of throw some different stuff at you. But I thought we'd just kind of jump right in and kind of see what we're doing here. So what you're looking at here is you're kind of looking at the topic today. We're talking about Google Forms and solving equations, and we're going to stick with that, but we're doing multi-step equations where variables are on kind of both sides, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. I send out a Google form, every week, and we're going to go through some of the answers here. We had about 4 problems that were on the Google form, and I thought it was kind of important that we do go through some of those. So let's continue on. Let's jump right in. Let's see how it works. All right, so we're going to be solving this first equation. As you can tell, we have the letter k as our variable, and we're going to be solving it. So we're going to distribute this this -6 across into this parenthesis first. So I want to get rid of that parenthesis there. So I have a -18k, because again, we're just multiplying that through. -6 times 3, and then -6 times 1 is a -6. So I have a -6 in the back, or plus a negative number, if you will. In the front, I have an 18 plus 6k. Okay, so that's the first step. Just get rid of the parentheses. Now what I want to start doing is moving things right and left. I think it's important that you get that idea of how to shift things from the left side to the right side. I'm a person where I like to move all the variables to the left side, so I'll move that -18 k over to the 6, and when you move it across an equal sign, it has to become a positive, or it becomes the opposite, I should say. So I'm going to have the 6k plus the 18k. That's the first step. Then the other thing I'm going to do at the same time is move the 18 over to the other side with the -6. So the -6 is currently sitting over there. I'm going to move the 18 over, and it becomes a -18 when I move it across. That's the first. That's like the major steps you have to do, because I want to get like terms together, group the variables. So next step, I'm going to be adding these together. So I'm going to add the 6 and 18 together. So if you add 6 and 18, you should get 24k's. And then the -6 and the -18 makes -24. Now again, most calculators have a negative sign. -6 minus 18 more is -24. So you can type those in. Then the last step is to get the k by itself. So you want to divide by the number that's being multiplied on it, because that's still the inverse operation. The 24's will cancel. And on the other side, -24 divided by -24, they kind of cancel. It's what I'm saying, they cancel. When you divide them, it makes 1. So 1 in front of every variable, that's always there. There is a 1 in front of that variable, which you just can ignore. But on the other side, when you divide -24 by 24, you get a 1, and it is negative. Now, if you don't believe me, on a calculator here, most people are thrown out by that. 24, what do we have? 20, let's see, let's transition to my calculator here. 24 divided by 24. And you can make one of them negative, it's fine. Divide and you get -1. It's kind of those things that once you see it, it makes total sense. But again, this is the idea that we're looking for. Now, if you're not sure, you can go back and plug it in and see if it balances both sides. Go back to the original equation, plug a -1 into both the k's on this original problem, and see if it actually balances out both sides. So on the left side, I have a -6. That's 6 times a -1. Add it to 18, I get 12. And on the other side, I have a -1 times 3, which is -3, plus 1, which I finish out the parenthesis. That's a -2. I add a -3 plus 1. And then -2 times -6 is positive 12. So it actually does balance both sides of the equation. That's kind of the idea. We're looking for the number that actually balances both sides. All right. hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this is starting to click a little bit. I've been trying to review the last couple of weeks with you guys on how to solve equations. Let's jump right into the second one here, and hopefully this will make sense. We don't have to get rid of any parentheses on this one. This one's significantly easier than the last one, but it is one of those things that I think it's important that
going over this one, I'm going to add the 8a across, so 2a, I'm going to add the 8a, because again, when it goes across the equal sign, it becomes the opposite, so it becomes positive. When I move the 14 across, it'll also become positive, because that's the opposite of it. And so this is going to end up being 30 on this side, and on the other side I have a 10a, because I can add the a's together. And then the last step is get rid of that 10, so I'm going to divide by 10s. So the 10s over here will make a 1, which is just a, 1a. And on the other side, 30 divided by 10 should be 3. And that should be the number that balances both sides. If you do plug that in, it should work out.
It should make the same numbers right on the left side. Again, if you go plug it in, I believe it should make -8s on both sides if you actually plug the 3 back in. Now, let's jump right in. Let's take a look.
Second to last problem here. Okay, so here's what we have. We have some x's. I'm going to move the x to this side. So when I move the 8x over, it becomes a -8x. When I move the 7 over, it becomes a -7. Because again, when I move across the equal sign, they become opposites. So 5 minus 8 is a -3x. And on the other side, -14 minus 7 more should be a -21. And then the last step is to divide. Now, I know a lot of people want to try to add the 3, but it is being multiplied on the x, so you have to divide by the negative. Then that'll cancel out to make a 1x, which is just x. And then -21 divided by -3 should be a +7. Again,
if you plug the 7 back into the original equation, it should balance the equation out left and right side. So, just proving that point, plugging these back in, this is 35 plus 7, which should be, 42? And if I do that to the other side, same thing. -14 plus 8 times the 7, that's 56 plus -14, that ends up being a 42 as well. So they actually do balance each other, and that's the whole point of this. Can you balance the equation? Can you solve the x that would make it work? There's only one x that makes this thing work.
All right, last problem here. The final problem, now this is one that was kind of tricky. It had a variable in it, or not a variable, but a fraction, I should say. So this is something we talked about last week, where what you want to do first is multiply everything by that denominator, that part that was on the bottom of the fraction. So I'm going to multiply everything by 5. What will happen here is the 5's will cancel, leaving you with a 2w. That's what happens when you multiply by that, what the denominator is. Then everything else multiplied by 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times w is 5w, because it's a 1w, so 1 times 5 is 5. And then the 12 times 5 should be 60. All right, so that's the first step. Now what we want to do is the same as all the rest, just move things around. But again, I'm hoping that
first step made sense, that you are going to figure out what the denominator is and then multiply everything by it. That way it cancels out the fraction. You're left with kind of easy numbers like you're seeing here.
So let's jump right in. Let's subtract this 5w across, so 2w minus the 5w. And I'm going to subtract the 15 across, so -60 minus 15. Because again, when they go across the equal sign, they become the opposites. So this will be a -3w on the left, and on the right side, I have a -75. -60 minus 15. And then the last step is divide by -3's. The -3's will cancel, and I'll be left with -75 divided by -3 should be positive, and it should be a +25. And again, this would be the number that would balance both sides of the equation out. Those are all our 4 problems. I thought this was kind of more personable. If you like this format, just let me know. Email me or text me or call me or whatever. Next week I'll be kind of doing the same kind of format. If you need anything, and maybe you're concerned about your quarter 3 grade, or there's something that you're not quite getting there's a topic that maybe I've glazed over too fast, or you're not comfortable with it, just let me know. Again, I'm trying to do this for the purpose of kind of reviewing, but also to help you out with, because eventually you are going to move on to the next, topic, your next class, and I want you to be comfortable with some of the math we've done, so you're not lost in that. But again, I'm just hoping that you're safe and healthy. That's really my primary concern. These videos are just meant to hopefully, ease the time. But again, thanks for sticking around, and I hope to see you real soon.